Upon the vast soil of 19th-century America stood countless dwellings. Some were stately mansions, others modest homes. Yet one humble cabin carries a weight beyond any palace and emits a light brighter than any prison cell. Constructed from the most lowly timber, it unsettled the very bedrock of a nation. Within its walls, the most shattered of destinies found a voice that would become the defining cry of an era. This is not merely a relic of a distant past, but a profound mirror held up to the deepest chasms and highest pinnacles of the human spirit. Welcome to the world of Uncle Tom's Cabin, Part 1, A Fractured Facade, the Individual Within the Institution. Our narrative opens on a deceptively genteel Kentucky plantation. Master Shelby is a man of refined manners, his wife a figure of genuine benevolence, and their enslaved laborers exist under a veneer of moderate servitude. This fragile illusion shatters when the specter of debt descends. Confronted with financial ruin, the calculus of humanity buckles under the weight of commerce. The loyal and pious Uncle Tom, alongside the bright-eyed child Harry, are itemized on a ledger, destined for the brutal markets of the Deep South. This single bill of sale tears asunder the myth of benevolent slavery, exposing its foundational cruelty. Learning of this fate, Harry's mother, Eliza, makes a desperate choice. Clutching her son, she risks a death-defying leap across the fractured ice of the Ohio River, embarking on a harrowing quest for liberty. In this pivotal moment, two paths diverge, one of steadfast sacrifice, the other of fierce rebellion. The fracture in the system is laid bare, and through it, a sliver of defiant light begins to pierce the darkness. Part 2, Divergent Paths, Dual Narratives of Conviction. Tom's journey leads him inward, along a path of profound spiritual fortitude. Sold to New Orleans, he enters the household of the saintly child Eva and her intellectually conflicted father, Augustine Street Clare. Here, glimmers of empathy, fellowship, and even promise of freedom emerge. Tom's unwavering faith and innate goodness deeply affect Eva's angelic nature and challenge St. Clare's weary conscience. Yet, this hope proves ephemeral. Eva's untimely death and St. Clare's sudden demise plunge Tom back into the abyss, delivering him ultimately to the living hell of Simon Legree's Red River plantation, a man who embodies pure, calculated malice. Parallel to this, Eliza's flight northward becomes a saga of active resistance. Reuniting with her ingenious husband, George Harris, who himself has cast off the chains of a cruel master, they navigate a treacherous landscape. Aided by the courageous networks of the Underground Railroad and the principled solidarity of Quakers, they evade relentless pursuers, their journey a testament to the unyielding will for self-determination. Stowe masterfully juxtaposes these two trajectories, one a journey of the soul, testing the power of redemptive love and nonviolent resistance, the other a physical odyssey, asserting the natural right to liberty through defiant action. Together, they represent the full spectrum of dignified response to profound injustice. Part 3, The Crucible of Souls, The Ultimate Test. Within the psychological torture chamber of Legree's plantation, Tom endures his final and most severe trial. Legree seeks systematically to annihilate his spirit, to break his faith with the lash, to corrode his compassion with despair, and to force him into complicity by ordering him to whip a fellow enslaved woman. Tom's defiance is quiet, absolute, and rooted in a transcendent sense of self. My body belongs to you, Mossar, but my soul does not. This declaration asserts an autonomy no deed of sale can negate. His moral courage reaches its zenith when he learns of the escape plan devised by the traumatized Cassie and the young Emmeline. Choosing to shield them and absorb Legree's wrath, he embraces a sacrifice of biblical dimensions. In his final, brutalized moments, he offers forgiveness to the very men who torment him. This act is not one of defeat, but of supreme spiritual victory. It proves that while tyranny can destroy the vessel, it can never possess or conquer a soul that remains free. Tom's physical cabin may be gone, but the sanctuary of his spirit stands eternal, a beacon for all who suffer under oppression. Part 4, Ripples That Became a Torrent, From Story to History. Tom's death is not an end, but a catalyst. His story, carried back to Kentucky by a remorseful George Shelby, the son of his first master, ignites a fire in the conscience of the North. Meanwhile, George and Eliza Harris secure their liberty in Canada, where George vows to dedicate his life to the cause of his people. Cassie's escape, furthermore, unravels a horrifying web of familial connections severed by slavery, exposing the institutions wrought at a deeply personal level. The sorrow and the heroism contained within this single cabin story rippled outward with unprecedented force. For countless readers, it transformed an abstract political issue into a visceral human reality, turning private sympathy into public outcry. Its cultural impact was so profound that President Abraham Lincoln, upon meeting Harriet Beecher Stowe, is famously said to have remarked, "So you are the little woman who wrote the book that started this great war." This literary work became a pivotal force, a lever applied to the course of a nation hurtling toward conflict. Part 5, The Uncrossed Threshold, A Legacy of Questioning. Uncle Tom's Cabin endures not simply as a historical indictment, but as a timeless exploration of morality, power, and resilience. Tom embodies the transformative power of unyielding love in the face of hatred. George and Eliza exemplify the righteous imperative of self-liberation. Stowe refuses simplistic morality, presenting instead a complex human tapestry, from the morally compromised kind Master Shelby, to the perceptive but paralyzed Street Claire, to the grotesque evil of Legree. The novel concludes not with an end, but a fraught beginning. George Shelby frees his enslaved workers, urging them to think of your freedom every time you see Uncle Tom's Cabin. This charge underscores that legal freedom is merely the first step on a longer, more arduous road toward true justice and reconciliation. The cabin's threshold, therefore, symbolizes a perpetual crossing. Today, Stowe's masterpiece continues to pose urgent questions. In what forms do bondage and inequality persist? And how might we, in our own time, construct shelters for human dignity, becoming, in essence, cabins of conscience for a world still in need of them?